More than 16 million Britons have been thrown into lockdown on Sunday in an attempt to contain a mutation of the coronavirus. It's something that the UK Health Secretary Matt Hancock has warned is, quote, out of control. Joining me now to discuss is emergency physician at Johns Hopkins University, Dr. Gabe Kellen, live from Baltimore. Hey, Dr. Kellen, it's good to see you this morning.
Hi.
The UK reported the most COVID-19 infections since the start of the pandemic. And they're talking a lot about this new strain that is more infectious. What do we know this far about this new strain?
Yeah, thank you so much. So the one thing that we do know is that it appears to be more infectious, meaning it's easily catchable. That does not mean that it's any more lethal or that the illness that you experience, should you become symptomatic, is actually worse. But it does seem to be able to be spread much more quickly.
Do we know if the vaccines that have been approved from Pfizer and from Moderna, do those protect against this new strain as well as against the original strain?
So obviously the vaccine testing was not done specifically against this strain. And so it's unclear whether anybody who received the vaccine in these trials had this strain. That said, the mechanism of action of the vaccines would seem to indicate, and everything that I've heard from vaccine scientists, the expectation is that the vaccine should work just as well.
That's some good news.
The other thing that really works against any of these is wear your mask, stay distanced, avoid indoor mixing, and eventually you'll get the vaccine. That will work.
I've heard those things before, doctor, and still seems like many of us aren't getting the message right now. I want to talk about the vaccine because I know you have a hand in the distribution of the vaccine at Johns Hopkins University. I want an update here. How's it going so far?
It's going tremendously well. The demand for the vaccine in our top tiers is exceptionally strong. It's greater than 10 to 1 for people who are eligible, who actually want it. And as you know, just a few short weeks ago, people were somewhat reticent. Well, maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll see if somebody else gets it before me and see what happens. That's not what we're experiencing. People want the vaccine.
We got an update over the weekend from the CDC about who should be in line and where they should be in line for getting the vaccine. We learned that the priority after healthcare workers will be those Americans who are above the age of 75, among others. What do you make of these changes that are happening in front of us in real time?
Yeah, so, the CDC is reasonably, I'll use the term, reasonably well-reasoned in how they're suggesting this come out. Frontline healthcare workers are still on that CDC list, as well as those who are greater than age 75. Some of it depends on the underlying philosophy of what you're trying to do. Are you trying to arrest, to the best extent that you can, the infection as soon as possible, or are you trying to save as many of the vulnerable early as you possibly can? And the two aren't necessarily going to achieve the exact same thing.
Why do you think members of Congress who are healthy and in their 30s are getting this vaccine before my 98-year-old grandmother?
Well, so that's another philosophy, one that I don't strongly subscribe to. It may be appropriate that some leaders are so essential that should they go down, that their branch of government cannot function. Since Congress is so dysfunctional anyway, I don't think most of us hold to that.
Hey, you said it, I didn't.
Yeah.
But I think it raises a really good point. And it's this idea that the people who we've been separated from because they're most vulnerable are still very far away in many cases of actually getting this vaccine. My grandmother was basically told halfway through 2021 is when she's going to get it. We haven't been able to see her since March of last year, and she's close to 100 years old.
Yeah, so again, it depends on the underlying philosophy. We here at Hopkins have decided that no matter how important we think we are, leaders are not going to go ahead simply because they're leaders. Those of us who work clinically or in different walks of life, we're in the same randomization or lottery as everybody else. When our time comes up, we'll get the vaccine, but not because we're leaders.
Emergency physician at Johns Hopkins University, Dr. Gabe Kellen. Dr. Kellen, thank you as always for joining us on this Monday morning and joining us live from Baltimore. We should note that the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health is supported by Michael R. Bloomberg, founder of Bloomberg LP and Bloomberg Philanthropies.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quicktake now for insight in an instant.